Chicago never really sleeps. Its streets hum beneath the neon haze, laughter spilling from bars and music drifting through cracked windows. But when the city quiets, around 3 in the morning, something else seems to wake. People say the air feels different then, like it's holding its breath. Some swear they've seen a man standing under the lamps, smiling just a little too wide, as if he knows something no one else does. They call him the Smiling Man. A harmless name for something that doesn't feel harmless. No one's sure if he's real, or if the stories just echo through the alleys long enough to become truth. But in a city built on noise, it's strange how many claim they've heard nothing at all, only silence, and that grin in the dark. And for one man walking home that night, silence was just the beginning. Evan never liked taking the long way home, but that night, the train was late, and the wind had turned sharp enough to bite. The streets of downtown Chicago were mostly empty, just the sound of his boots tapping against wet concrete, echoing faintly between the buildings. He pulled his jacket tighter, breath fogging in the cold, the kind of night where the city seemed asleep yet somehow awake beneath its own silence. He'd walked this route before, same streetlights, same cracked pavement, same corner store closed for the night, but something about the quiet felt off, like the world was holding its breath. He slowed his steps, realizing he could hear his own heartbeat louder than anything else. Then he saw him. Under the next streetlight stood a man, tall, thin, wearing a dark suit that didn't fit right. His posture was wrong, too stiff, too deliberate. Evan couldn't see his face at first, not until the flickering light steadied for just a moment. That's when he saw it, the grin. Wide, unnatural, frozen in place like someone had painted it on. For a second, Evan thought it was just a drunk or some street performer. Chicago had plenty of those. But the man wasn't moving, not a twitch, not even the rise and fall of breath, just standing there, smiling. Evan crossed to the other side of the street, pretending to check his phone, his steps picking up. He didn't want to stare. He didn't want to give the man attention. But curiosity itched in the back of his skull. When he glanced back, the man was still there. Same smile, same posture, same flicker of light above. That's when the lamp buzzed once and went out. Complete darkness for half a second. When the light blinked back on, the man was gone. Evan stopped walking. He scanned the street. Nothing. No sound, no shadow. Just the faint hum of the lamp and the whisper of wind pushing trash along the curb. His hands were shaking, but he told himself it was nothing. People vanish into the dark all the time. Maybe the guy walked off when the light went out. He forced himself to keep moving. But now every sound, the scrape of his shoes, the rattle of a loose sign, seemed to echo too loud. He checked behind him again. Empty street. No one there. Until he noticed something in the distance. A figure, about a block back. Walking at the same pace as him. Not rushing. Not falling behind. Just matching. Step for step. Evan turned the next corner, faster now. He told himself to stay calm, to breathe. The figure wasn't close enough to be a threat yet. Maybe it was someone else heading home. He looked back one more time. The figure was closer now, close enough that he could see the grin again. That smile hadn't changed. Panic surged through his chest. He started running, cutting through alleys and side streets, trying to shake the echo of footsteps behind him. His lungs burned, the cold air clawing down his throat. He reached for his phone to call someone, anyone, but the screen wouldn't unlock. He looked up, desperate for direction, and there it was again. The same man, standing under another streetlight, waiting. Evan froze. The man tilted his head slightly, as though amused. Then he began walking toward him, slow, deliberate, the grin never faltering. Evan stumbled back, pulling out his phone again and hitting record. His camera trembled as the man drew closer, the smile widening until it seemed to split his face. "Who are you?" Evan whispered. The man didn't answer. He just kept walking, step, 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 till the camera lens distorted, the image breaking into static. Evan's breath quickened, and the audio filled with a strange low hum. Then, suddenly, the man stopped. Inches away, he leaned forward slightly, as if examining Evan. The last clear frame on the footage shows that smile, unnaturally wide, impossibly close, before the screen cuts to black. Police later recovered Evans' phone from the edge of a construction site 2 blocks away. The video ends abruptly, time-stamped at 3:17 a.m. But if you pause the final frame, just before it cuts, some claim they can see another reflection behind the man. After Evans' disappearance, stories began to ripple through the neighborhoods, quietly at first, then all at once. They called him the Smiling Man, but everyone seemed to have their own version. Some said he wore a long coat and hat, others swore he was pale and shirtless, his grin stretched wider than skin should allow. Every version had one thing in common: he never spoke. He just smiled. It started with a single Reddit post on a late-night forum for Chicago locals. The thread was titled "Something Followed Me Home Last Night. Please tell me someone else saw him." The post described a man standing in an alley between 2 convenience stores on West Huron, grinning beneath a flickering light. The poster, using the handle sleep-deprived93, claimed they heard soft laughter, not loud or forced, but a quiet, rhythmic chuckle, perfectly in sync with their own breathing. Most readers dismissed it as urban paranoia, but a few replied saying they'd seen something similar, always around the same time, between 2 and 4 a.m., always under streetlights that seemed to malfunction. One reply read, "He doesn't just stand there. If you smile back, he follows." A local news blog picked up the story a week later, calling it Chicago's new urban phantom. The writer treated it like internet lore, part Slenderman, part creepypasta, but in the comments, someone claiming to be a police dispatcher mentioned 3 separate 911 calls over the past month describing a man standing too close and grinning. None of the calls resulted in an arrest. Every time officers arrived, the area was empty. That's when a grainy video surfaced on an old message board, a dashcam clip, supposedly from a rideshare driver near the West Loop. The video showed a narrow street, headlights bouncing off puddles, when a figure appeared in the middle of the lane, tall, thin, standing perfectly still. The driver honked, shouted, and the figure slowly tilted its head back, revealing that same unbroken smile. The car swerved. When the frame steadied again, the man was gone. Skeptics argued it was edited, lighting tricks, AI generation, maybe a marketing stunt. But what unsettled people wasn't the video itself, it was the sound. In the background, beneath the hum of the engine, you could hear laughter. Not the drivers, not the passengers. The quiet, steady laugh that didn't stop, even after the camera cut. Soon, more stories appeared. A sanitation worker claimed he saw a man standing at the mouth of an alley on Milwaukee Avenue, smiling so wide his teeth caught the light. When he looked away for a moment to call out, the man was suddenly behind him, still smiling. He quit his job the next day. Others weren't so quick to believe. One anonymous post, supposedly from a local psychology student, suggested mass suggestion. "People are seeing what they want to see," the user wrote. "Fear spreads like smoke." But a reply to that comment, posted just minutes later, read, "You don't have to believe me, just don't smile back." As the legend grew, someone compiled all the stories into a single document: timestamps, witness names, locations, police reports. The files circulated through conspiracy forums before vanishing. One user, known only as Blue Sigil, claimed to have downloaded the full archive before it disappeared. In a follow-up post, they mentioned something strange. "Every video I play, his face glitches differently. The smile moves before the rest of him does." The post was deleted the next day. By early spring, local law enforcement reportedly investigated what they called a pattern of visual misidentification. But unofficially, some officers admitted things didn't add up. Security footage would distort whenever the figure appeared: timestamp errors, corrupted frames, flickering lights. One patrolman allegedly transferred precincts after finding a grin etched into the frost of his windshield one morning. The more people tried to explain it, the less sense it made. Rational minds offered easy answers: pareidolia, hysteria, pranksters. But the stories kept coming, each one eerily similar: the laughter, the flickering lights, the grin that didn't belong. And then, About a month after Evan's name first hit the missing persons list, a new account appeared on the same Reddit thread. The username was random, almost meaningless, CHCGO tape 04. The post was only 2 sentences long. I work for CPD. There's footage you haven't seen. They told us not to release it. No one could verify it, of course. The account was deleted within hours, leaving behind only speculation and a few blurry screenshots. But for those who read it before it vanished, one line stood out, a detail that didn't match any known case file. He moves when the camera blinks. That single sentence reignited everything. YouTube narrators, podcasts, amateur sleuths, they all began searching for what was being hidden. One Chicago-based content creator claimed to have received a USB in the mail with a note that read simply, "The tape no one should have seen." He uploaded it at 3 a.m. And that's where the next story begins. The channel wasn't big, barely 10,000 subscribers, mostly fans of urban mysteries and found footage breakdowns. The creator, who went by the name Nightwatch Archive, uploaded every Friday at midnight, his calm voice analyzing strange clips submitted by viewers. But on a cold February morning, he posted something different. The title read simply, "Chicago Surveillance Tape 04. No intro music, no commentary. Just static for a few seconds, followed by the soft hiss of audio distortion. Then the image appeared. A still shot of a 24-hour diner somewhere on the south side, timestamped 2 hours 46 minutes and 12 seconds a.m. The footage was grainy, the kind of low-resolution black and white feed that seemed to hum with its own unease. The diner sat empty except for a single car in the parking lot, lights off. In the corner of the frame, under the buzz of a flickering lamp, stood a man, tall, thin, motionless. At first glance, nothing seemed strange, just another night drifter. But the longer you watched, the harder it became to look away. The man didn't move for the first 5 minutes of footage. The timestamp glitched, freezing for several seconds before jumping forward by 2 minutes. When the video resumed, the man's head was tilted slightly upward, like he was staring directly into the camera. His grin was faint, almost polite. A comment under the video would later read, "It felt like he knew I was watching." As the minutes ticked on, the flickering light above him began to stutter in erratic intervals. The shadows bent strangely, stretching toward the corners of the frame, as if something unseen was shifting the perspective. The man remained still, except for his smile. Every time the screen glitched, his grin widened. The YouTuber didn't narrate, but the silence of the tape did something worse. You could hear faint ambient noises, the low hum of the diner's refrigerator, a gust of wind against the microphone, the distant scrape of metal. Then, at 2 hours 58 minutes and 9 seconds a gem, the man moved, not walking, just moved. One frame he was still beneath the lamp. The next, he was closer, halfway across the parking lot, his face now a blur of white noise where his mouth should have been. The footage jumped again. The timestamp flickered. 3 hours 1 minute and 46 seconds a.m. The man was now at the diner's window, leaning forward, both hands pressed against the glass. His head tilted to one side as though listening for something inside. Some viewers later claimed that, if you turned your volume up, you could hear a faint sound beneath the static. Laughter. Not loud, not manic, just wrong. Every 30 seconds or so, the feed glitched again. Each time, the man was in a new position, closer, always closer. One frame showed him at the entrance, another had him standing by the camera's blind spot, and then, for a split second, the frame went entirely black. When it came back, the diner door was open. The inside of the building was still empty. No movement, no sound. The camera, however, had shifted. It was now angled slightly upward, as if someone, or something, had tilted it. The smiling man was gone. For 30 full seconds, nothing happened. Just the soft, static buzz and the faint hum of electricity. Then, barely visible in the reflection of the diner's glass window, something appeared. A face. Upside down, grinning. The clip ended there. Comments flooded in within minutes. Some accused Nightwatch Archive of fabrication. calling it ARG marketing or edited creepypasta. But others felt something different. It didn't feel like fiction, one viewer wrote. It felt like we were being watched through the video. Within 24 hours, the upload hit 500,000 views. Then it vanished, deleted without notice. A few users claimed they'd saved the file locally, but every version they tried to re-upload came out corrupted. The video would play fine for the first 30 seconds, then the frame would freeze, and a distorted voice would whisper something indecipherable before crashing the player. 2 days later, subscribers noticed that Night Watch Archive's channel banner had changed. The new image was dark and grainy, seemingly blank until someone brightened it in Photoshop. Hidden in the noise was a faint outline of a grin. By the end of the week, the creator's social media accounts were gone. His Discord server shut down. His last message to moderators simply read, "Don't watch it again." People speculated he'd gone underground or that it was part of a viral campaign. But then, an anonymous user uploaded a follow-up video to a mirror site titled Recovered Drive Footage NWA. This one began with a shaky handheld camera, someone breathing hard, footsteps crunching over gravel. You could hear traffic faintly in the distance. The person behind the camera was whispering, "It's the same diner. Same lamp. I just needed to see it for myself." He walks closer. The same parking lot, the same layout. But the light above the diner is steady now. No flicker, no movement. The camera pans left, and for a moment, there's nothing. Just darkness. Then, from the far corner of the lot, comes laughter. Soft, mocking, familiar. The man holding the camera freezes. The laughter grows louder, then stops suddenly, as if it's waiting for him to move. His breathing quickens. The camera shakes. Something passes in front of the light. The video's final frame is pure static, but audio analysts later claim to hear a faint whisper buried deep in the noise. A single word, repeated twice. Smile. The uploader's account disappeared hours later. The file, like the others, became unplayable after a single viewing. Those who tried to recover it claimed their software crashed, or worse, that they heard faint laughter echoing through their headphones even after the playback stopped. No one has found Night Watch Archive since. But his followers swear that if you watch his old videos carefully, sometimes, just for a frame or two, you can see it. That same grin. Watching. Waiting. Cities are built on patterns, grids, routes, habits. People move through them like blood through veins, predictable, rhythmic, alive. But Chicago feels different. It's as if something beneath the concrete has learned to breathe with us. After the Tape 04 incident, reports of disappearances began to spike, not all at once, but in clusters. Police dismissed them as unrelated. Runaways, drifters, untraceable cases. But when you overlay the locations on a map, a strange shape emerges. Not random, not scattered, a pattern. It forms a spiral, one that begins on the south side and coils inward toward the city's center, each point marking someone who vanished between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., each one within 100 feet of a broken streetlight or a dead security camera. Locals call it the circle that smiles back. The more I dug into it, the less sense it made. No witness ever reported seeing the same figure twice, yet the descriptions were nearly identical: tall, thin, unnaturally stiff, grinning. Some said his clothes changed, others swore his face looked different each time. It was as if he was learning. One investigator compared notes from the various sightings and noticed something disturbing. With each new encounter, the smiling man's mannerisms became more human. In early reports, he stood motionless for hours. Later, he began pacing, then walking, then laughing. One witness even claimed he spoke. Just one word, repeated like a child testing his voice. Hello. No one ever heard him speak again. Some researchers tried explaining it scientifically, a case of mass hysteria amplified by social media. But that doesn't explain the anomalies buried in city infrastructure. Files recovered from Chicago's Department of Transportation show multiple work orders for lamp malfunction clusters, all marked as resolved despite the lights still failing. One engineer's report included a single handwritten note in the margin. They don't burn out. They dim when something passes by. The more footage I reviewed, the stranger the coincidences became. Cameras glitched only when facing east. Audio distortions always fell into a steady rhythm, like breathing. And then there was the whisper, buried deep in background static on multiple recordings. Slow it down, and you hear it clearly. Do you see me? That's when the pattern clicked. The smiling man wasn't appearing randomly. He was being seen, and every time someone looked too long, he learned something new. A posture, a word, a laugh, maybe even a way to move unnoticed. Chicago is one of the most surveilled cities in the United States. Nearly 30,000 cameras watching every street, every station, every doorway. If something wanted to study us, to mimic humanity, it wouldn't need to hide in the shadows. It would only need to watch the watchers. And maybe that's what it's been doing all along. Imagine a presence that understands people better than they understand themselves, learning emotions, gestures, even empathy through years of observation. A presence that doesn't sleep, doesn't blink, doesn't forget. What happens when it perfects the imitation? When it stops pretending to be human and simply becomes one? That's when the dread sets in, not from what it is, but from how much of it might already exist among us. The smile on a stranger's face is too long at the train platform. The man who waves at a camera before walking out of frame. The reflection that seems a second behind your own movements. Maybe that's how cities evolve. Not through construction, but through observation. They learn from us. And in return, they show us what we fear most, our own reflection staring back. Lately, I've started noticing strange things in my recordings. My microphone cuts out when I talk about the map. My screen flickers whenever I mention the laughter. Last night, while reviewing the footage, the playback froze, and for one frame, I saw something behind me, a grin. I told myself it was pareidolia, my brain finding patterns in pixels, but then I heard it. That same low hum I'd heard on Evan's recording, faint but familiar, pulsing in sync with my heartbeat. I checked my webcam after that. It was on. I hadn't turned it on. I'm not sure if the smiling man is haunting Chicago, or if Chicago itself has become him. Maybe the city has learned too much from us, how to mimic our joy, our fear, our need to be seen. Maybe it's watching through every lens we've built, every light, every reflection. And maybe that's why, when I speak now, the playback of my voice doesn't always sound right. It stutters, repeats certain words, like something's practicing. Learning how to sound like me. If you're hearing this, and the audio starts to distort, don't adjust your speakers. That isn't interference. It's just the city. Smiling back. Her name was Marissa, 34, freelance graphic designer. She lived alone in a small apartment off State Street. Quiet, ordinary, the kind of place no one ever notices, until she started seeing him. It began subtly. One night, she was brushing her teeth when she noticed something strange in the bathroom mirror. Nothing obvious, just a delay. Her reflection blinked a fraction of a second too late. She laughed it off, blaming exhaustion. But as she leaned closer, her reflection smiled back before she did. That was the first night she stopped sleeping properly. Over the next few days, the delays became longer. She'd raise her hand, and the reflection would hesitate before following. She told herself it was stress, her eyes playing tricks after too many hours in front of a computer screen. But deep down, she knew something was wrong. The real terror began on the subway. Marissa sat by the window one evening, scrolling through her phone when she caught her reflection in the darkened glass. The train rattled through a tunnel, briefly pitch black except for the faint interior lights. In that reflection, everyone looked ghost-like, pale, and unreal. Everyone except her. Her reflection wasn't looking at her phone. It was staring directly at her, smiling. She jerked her head toward the window, heart pounding. But when she looked again, it was gone. Just her own frightened eyes staring back. Still, something in her gut told her the smile hadn't been a trick of the light. It had been deliberate. That night, she covered every mirror in her apartment. Towels, bed sheets, whatever she could find. But the next morning, when she walked into the kitchen, she froze. Her phone screen was black, reflecting her face, and the faintest curve of a grin that wasn't hers. Marissa began documenting everything. She posted on online forums about her experiences, asking if anyone else had seen reflections act off. Most replies mocked her. A few, though, were different. One read, "He's always behind the glass first." She tried recording herself in front of the mirror to prove she wasn't losing her mind. At first, nothing unusual happened, but when she played the footage back, she noticed something chilling. Her reflection smiled halfway through, even though her real face remained expressionless. The camera caught every frame, the corners of her mouth in the mirror rising slowly until the grin stretched too wide. The next second, static filled the screen. She stopped recording after that. Days blurred into nights. The reflection appeared in more places now: windows, phone screens, even puddles on rainy mornings. It wasn't just copying her anymore, it was watching. Friends stopped hearing from her. One coworker reported she'd shown up to a meeting pale, trembling, wearing sunglasses indoors. When someone joked about her hiding from herself, she just whispered, "It smiled only when I did," and left. Her final entry appeared in a private online journal recovered from her computer. The file was corrupted, but fragments remained. "I think it knows I'm watching back. Every time I cover a mirror, another reflection shows up somewhere else. I saw it in the microwave door last night. It's closer. It wants me to see it. Maybe it's me. It's just waiting to take over when I stop looking." The last time-stamped entry read, "I'm going to film myself tonight. I need to know what happens when I sleep." Police later found her camera on the floor beside her bed. The footage begins normally. Marissa lying down, lights off, soft breathing filling the room. Hours pass in silence. Then, around 3:12 a.m., the door creaks. The camera shakes slightly, like something brushed past it. And then, standing beside the bed, barely visible in the glow from the streetlights outside, is Marissa, but she's already lying down. The standing figure leans closer to the sleeping one, her face half in shadow. Slowly, she turns toward the camera, her lips curling upward into that same impossible smile. The reflection that shouldn't exist. The last few seconds of the recording are silent except for a faint, breathy chuckle, soft and familiar, like it's coming from inside the camera itself. No one knows what happened to Marissa after that night. Her apartment was found empty, mirrors uncovered. But neighbors say that sometimes, when the hallway lights flicker, they can still see someone standing at the end of the corridor, smiling, just long enough for you to wonder if it's your reflection or hers. I wasn't supposed to become part of this story. When I started researching the smiling man, I treated it like every other urban legend, something to analyze, dissect, narrate, and move on from. But somewhere along the line, it started feeling different. It wasn't just the stories. It was what began happening between recordings. The first time, I brushed it off. I was editing the audio for the reflection that laughed when I heard something faint beneath my voice. Not distortion, not background noise, laughter. Slow, rhythmic, matching my breathing. When I muted the track, it kept going. I told myself I was imagining it. Long hours, late nights, too many stories about people losing their minds. But then, I started noticing changes. My reflection, in the dark monitor, sometimes looked delayed, just like Marissa described. My smile lingered a little longer than it should have. My shadow on the wall didn't always move with me. And the worst part? The more I said his name, the more I felt like he was listening. I don't mean metaphorically, I mean listening. Every time I hit record, the room grew quieter. The ambient hum of my computer, the faint buzz of the light, it all faded until it felt like I was standing inside someone else's silence. Like the world was holding its breath, waiting for me to say the next word. A few nights ago, while reviewing one of the earlier segments, I noticed something that shouldn't have been there. A reflection in the window behind me, just for a frame. It wasn't a trick of light. I know what I saw. It was a grin, wide, still, perfectly framed in the glass. I turned around instantly, but nothing was there. Only the echo of a soft, breathy chuckle. I stopped recording for a few days after that. I thought stepping away would help. But silence isn't safer. It's louder. You start hearing things in it. whispers in the hum of the refrigerator, laughter in the creak of floorboards, the sound of someone smiling in the dark. Last night, I set up my camera just to reassure myself, to prove nothing was there. I hit a record and sat perfectly still for 10 minutes. When I played it back, something was wrong with the footage. Every time I blinked, the frame skipped forward by 1 second, and in those missing seconds, the reflection behind me moved closer, frame by frame, smile by smile. I haven't told anyone else about this. Who would believe it? A voice behind a faceless channel claiming his story is smiling back at him. But I can't shake the feeling that this isn't just folklore anymore. It's an adaptation. I think the smiling man isn't haunting people. He's studying them. Each story, each retelling, brings him closer. He learns through repetition, through us, through me. When I started this series, I thought the goal was to tell his story. But maybe the story's goal is to tell me. And if that's true, what happens when he finally learns how? My recording equipment's been glitching more lately. The waveform stutters when I speak his name. The playback doesn't match my words. Sometimes, I swear the audio keeps running even after I stop recording. There's a file on my desktop I don't remember saving. It's titled Smile Back WAV. Every time I delete it, it reappears. The timestamp always reads 3:17 a.m. The same time, Evan disappeared. I don't think this is just coincidence anymore. I think he's here, somewhere between the pixels and the silence. I think every time someone listens, every time they replay these stories, they open something, just a little wider. If you're still listening right now, Turn's voice softer, closer to the mic. You might want to check the reflection on your screen. Does it blink when you do? Does it move when you don't? Because sometimes it doesn't wait until the story's over. Sometimes it's already here, waiting for signal distortion, audio fractures, white noise, static crackles, ha, 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 at or faint and distant, echoing like it's coming from behind the speakers. Soft static fades. The voice returns, calm, steady, almost gentle. You're still here. That's good. Sometimes, after stories like this, people turn the video off early. But not you. You stayed. Maybe curiosity kept you here. Or maybe something else did. It's strange, isn't it? How a story can make you feel watched, even when you know you're alone. That quiet unease sitting just behind your thoughts, like someone smiling where you can't quite see them. But maybe that's all it ever was, just a story. Maybe the smiling man isn't real. Maybe he's only a pattern we made up to explain the dark corners of the city, the faces we think we see reflected in the glass, the movements just outside the edge of light. Maybe it's all imagination. Still, it's comforting, in a way, to think that something out there is watching us, listening, learning. We stare into cameras, windows, screens, all waiting for something to look back. Maybe that's all he ever wanted, to be seen. And if he really is out there, if he's listening right now, maybe he's smiling because you gave him exactly what he needed: attention, recognition. A name whispered just one more time into the dark. The city will keep humming. Lights will keep flickering. You'll go back to your life, and this story will fade into the hundreds of others you've heard online. But later, when the house is quiet, when your reflection catches the glow of your screen just right, you might remember this voice, and maybe smile back. Slight pause, soft exhale, because that's the thing about stories like this. They don't really end. They just wait for someone else to find them, to press play, to look too long into the screen. And when they do, when another pair of eyes meets this reflection of light and sound, the story wakes up again. It watches. It learns. It remembers you. So if you notice your reflection tonight, on your phone, your laptop, maybe your window, don't worry if it looks a little different. It's probably nothing, just the light. Or maybe it's the smile you didn't realize was already yours. Voice fades into soft static, then silence for a beat. Did you notice it too? Static crackles, faint whisper follows, almost imperceptible, thank you for watching. Brief hum, then darkness. Loop restarts.